why are they so successful? Is anyone safe from fraud?
I'd like to say that, well, yeah, I guess I could say that the people that are safe from fraud are the people that are vigilant. Once you become complacent or you allow yourself to be unnecessarily influenced by this anxiety and this fear, and that's where you get hooked. If ever your spidey sense is tingling, it's just something doesn't seem right, hang up, look up the legitimate number on a website or off the back of your card, call them back, and then resolve it that way.
I would love to tell you about a recent phone call I received.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. So it was not too long after, our government administration announced that they were refunding student loans, right?
Okay, yes.
And I suddenly just was getting a slew of all these phone numbers that I don't recognize calling me, which as typical people, we don't answer those, right?
Sure.
I'm not going to answer that. If they really need me, they'll leave a message or text me or whatever.
Right.
And so I proceeded to listen to several messages saying, Crystalina, call us back because, there's student loan refunds available and da-da-da-da-da-da. And Barbara knew my name. Like most people, even if they see my name, they usually say it wrong.
Right.
So I was like, who is this Barbara woman? The only thing that obviously threw me for a loop was the fact that I've never had a student loan. And so,
that would be a slight hint that something may be amiss.
Yes. Yeah. But at the same time, she knew my name. She had my number. What an awesome opportunity to, do whatever she was going to try to do.
Yeah. Well, the student loan forgiveness has really been a hook that has been leveraged by quite a few nefarious ne'er-doers to take advantage of others, and particularly with regards to setting up false websites that make you believe that you're applying for student loan forgiveness. And so naturally you're entering your name and your social and your date of birth and all your contact information and your address. And when in reality, what they're doing is they're harvesting all those things so that they can steal your identity and, commit fraud in that way. It's kind of it's the same old story. It's just same song, different verse.
Yeah.
And so they're just, like we've talked about before, they'll leverage the COVID pandemic to take advantage of people. They'll leverage student loan forgiveness to take advantage of people. They'll leverage really anything that's a hot topic, and in particular, something that would generate a lot of emotion, i.e. excitement or fear in the case of the pandemic. And so emotion is a tool that fraudsters like to leverage quite a bit.
Yeah, I love that. Well, and speaking of emotion too, want to talk a little bit about how fraud, because I think we all know we're not giving, money to the Nigerian princes anymore. Like we've got that down. But how has fraud changed over the last few years?
Well, most recently, the change that we're seeing from a financial institution and a financial industry perspective is that fraudsters are using the ubiquity of contact technology, phone, text message, email, to find their marks, to recruit their victims. And of course, they're not going to call you up or send you a text and say, hey, I'm John Q. fraudster and I want to take advantage of you.
Right.
They're going to contact you for things like student loan forgiveness or other things. And most recently, what we're seeing is a lot of fraudsters that are calling up consumers posing as financial institutions, and specifically, and this is where it really hurts me, they're posing as fraud representatives of financial institutions.
Okay.
So it works like this. They will blast out a text. They're not targeting, people specifically. They just, hey, we know that these financial institutions exist in this area and these area codes. So we have a pretty good chance that if we just blast out a text message to any phone number with this area code, we have a pretty high likelihood of getting, someone that has an account at one of these institutions.
Okay.
And that text message will say something like, there's suspicious activity on your account. Click this link to secure your account. Well, of course, you click on that link and then it takes you to a website that looks like it's a legitimate website, but really it's harvesting your credentials like those student loan forgiveness websites are.
Yeah.
So that's no good. The variation of that is that they'll say, hey, Kristalina, or maybe they won't even use your name and they'll just say, there's a suspicious transaction at a Walmart in Kentucky for $500. Is that you? Respond yes or no. So you respond no because you haven't been to Kentucky. And then you get a phone call from someone who claims to be a fraud representative at the financial institution, right? And so they'll start out by creating a lot of urgency and anxiety and emotion and, oh, your account's been exposed and, oh, your account's going to get drained and, oh, and really get that anxiety up. And then what happens is that, and then here's the key. They say, in order to protect you, so here's all this anxiety, here's all this fear. In order to fix it, we need you to verify yourself. And how do they ask you to verify yourself? With your username and your password and your PIN and your code word and all of these things that might be used to access your account, whether online or over the phone when you legitimately call up your financial institution.
Okay. And correct me if I'm wrong, as a financial institution, you never need that information of your customer or of your member because you already have it.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
So what this would look like, and it's important for your viewers to realize that there are many legitimate reasons why your financial institution will reach out to you. And,
yes.
And I have a whole team of people that monitor accounts, that look for suspicious activity, and that contact people to say, hey, this is an unusual transaction. Is it you? So that is absolutely, the fact that you get a text message like that or someone calls you about a suspicious transaction is not unusual.
Okay.
It's what happens during that call.
Okay.
That's the unusual thing. Because what a legitimate fraud representative from a financial institution will do is they will give you information and ask you to verify it. Kristalina, did you do this transaction with the card that ends, 1, 2, 3, 4 on this date for this amount? And then ask you to say yes or no. But what a fraudster is doing is they're saying, well, I need you to verify yourself. So I need you to give me information. I need you to verify yourself with your social security number, or I need to verify yourself with your username and password to your online branch account, or I need you to verify yourself with this one-time password that I'm going to send to you. And that's really where the alarm should be going off. Because this person is presumably calling you at a number that you gave them. Why are they asking you to verify yourself?
Yeah,
because
really good point.
Sending a code word or sending that one-time PIN, that 6-digit PIN to somebody that called you, it doesn't make any sense. Now, if you were to call your financial institution, then they might send you a one-time password to verify yourself because you are calling them. Or if you call them, they might ask you for a code word or something else.
Sure.
But if they're calling you, there's no reason to do that. So,
Okay.
and it's very nefarious. And again, this fear, this anxiety that they're trying to create, they often will ask consumers to do very odd things like, well, don't use your card, don't log into your account, right? Why would a financial institution tell you not to log into your account?
No, we want you to log into your
right.
account.
We
Look
want
at
you to
those
log into
transactions.
right.
Yes,
yeah.
daily. Come on.
Why would they say that, well, there's been fraud on your card, but we need to leave your card unblocked? Why would a financial institution do that? If there's fraud on your account, on your card, we'd want to cancel that card so fraud doesn't continue. Some of the more insidious instructions that I have heard is your account has been compromised, and in order to secure your account, we need you to go into the branch, withdraw all of the money in your account in cash, and then take it and deposit it at a cryptocurrency ATM.
What?
There is no reason that a legitimate financial institution would ask you to do that.
Yeah.
So these are some things that I just want your viewers to understand, that if you get contacted by somebody, they should only be giving you information. And if they start asking you for information about your account, ask you for personal identifying information like your date of birth, your social security number, asking you for a code word to anything, asking you for a username or password to anything. And it could be something that's not your financial institution account.
Sure.
Because if they say, well, I need you to verify yourself with your, let's say, your PIN to your mobile phone carrier, why would your financial institution need that?
Yeah.
They want it because then they can call up your cell phone carrier and they can now forward your phone to another phone, so that when they call up your financial institution posing as you, and the financial institution tries to verify them with the one-time PIN, where does it go?
To your phone.
It goes to them because they've now ported your phone number over to a different phone.
Okay, interesting. So just to clarify though, I will get asked for my code word when I call a financial institution.
Yes.
So if I'm on a phone call from someone that's called me, right,
Yes.
and they're saying, hey, you received this, can you verify this transaction on this date?
Right.
If I ever feel uncomfortable, what should I do?
Yeah, that's a great question, Kristalina, because if ever your spidey sense is tingling, it's just something doesn't seem right on this. What you should, it's a very, very, very simple instructions that I want your viewers to remember. Hang up, look up the legitimate number on a website or off the back of your card or anywhere from a legitimate source, call them back, and then resolve it that way.
Okay.
Because if one of my agents that calls members speaks to or calls our members of the credit union, if they speak to someone and they say, hey, there's a suspicious transaction, and that member is like, oh, well, how do I know that you're really calling from Mountain America Credit Union? What my agent will say is, oh, thank you for being so conscientious. I appreciate you, being careful. I am not going to ask you for information. I am just going to give you information and ask you to validate it. However, if you're uncomfortable, please hang up, look up our 800 number from our website, call us back, ask for this extension or ask to speak to this person and the fraud team, and you'll get right back to me.
Yeah.
And any legitimate representative of a financial institution wouldn't have any trouble doing that.
Okay, fair enough. So that's the difference, right? We still could be asked for the code word or the one-time PIN, but only when we're calling.
Only when you're calling.
Okay, not the reverse. Okay,
how
interesting.
Yeah, and the fraudster, isn't going to ask you to call back because they're going to focus on that anxiety and that fear, and we need to act quickly to secure your account because all of this money's leaving your account.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so how are all of these, which I feel like many of us have received these via text message, phone calls, whatever it is.
Yep.
Why are they so successful? I mean, obviously they wouldn't continue to happen if they weren't working, right?
Yeah, they're successful because people respond to them.
Okay.
So the thing that I want to emphasize is I think at this point, everyone's pretty much, if you don't recognize a phone number when somebody calls you, you're not answering the phone.
Sure.
And if it's somebody that really needs to talk to you, they'll leave you a voicemail.
Yeah.
And if you really want to talk to them, you'll call them back, right?
Yeah.
Text messages are a little bit different. And so whenever you get a text message from a number that you don't recognize, or even someone that you do recognize, but it's asking you to click on a link like, hey, Kristalina, this is Rob. I found this cool, YouTube video. Click here. We got to be really careful about what links you're clicking on, whether it's email or text, because that can cause some problems. But then again, you get people that respond to them, and when they get these text messages that say, "Hey, your account's been compromised," or your account's unsecure. Click here to secure your account, or $5,000 has been debited from your account. If you didn't do it, click here. So
Yeah. So with text messages, because correct me, we can sign up for account alerts.
yes.
Right?
Yes, absolutely.
To get notifications of when things, specifically happen with our account.
Yeah.
So how do we know the difference between what an account alert looks like and what maybe fraud text
Yeah, that's
look
a
like?
great question, Crestalina. And thank you for bringing that up, because we highly recommend transaction alerts
Okay.
for consumers in general, because that's, what's best, what's going on your account.
Yeah.
And so monitoring that is a very, very wise thing to do. To be honest, the fraudsters know what legitimate text messages look like too.
Yeah.
Right? So the text itself may look exactly like a legitimate text. There is no way that you can look at it and say, oh, well, this isn't a legitimate number or a legitimate text, because just like you can spoof a caller ID, you can spoof a text message
Sure.
ID. And so you won't know the difference. Now, if you get a text and says, hey, there's this suspicious transaction, and you log into your account and you look at the transactions, like, well, I'm not seeing this transaction that they're texting me about. That could still be a legit text, because it could be that because it was such an unusual, suspicious transaction that it was blocked, and so it's not showing up on your account. So you don't want to just ignore it just because of that. It's still worth following up with and either responding to the text or calling up the 800 number, speaking to someone, say, hey, I got this text and I'm concerned about this transaction. So really the red flag doesn't come from the text. It comes from what happens after the text when that person calls you and says, hey, there's this unusual transaction.
Okay. Or let's say I get that text, I click that link.
Yep.
And from there, it's shady.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. Yeah. Because my recommendation would be is that if you get a text with a link, delete it, because there's just no way to know that link is taking you to a legit website.
Unless you for sure know the source
Right.
or whatever. Okay.
Because, and it wouldn't necessarily even be a text from a financial institution, things like Amazon, Google, eBay.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So it says, hey, your $1,500 camera that you ordered on eBay is scheduled to arrive. Well, I didn't order a $1,500 camera. To cancel, click this link. Well, you click the link, it takes you to a website that looks like eBay's website. You enter your credentials in on eBay's website, and now your credentials have been harvested for eBay. And
okay.
Are we going a little too deep down the rabbit hole?
No, it totally makes sense. So if I get a notification, let's say like that from eBay,
Yep.
Instead of clicking that link, I go
Yes.
to eBay myself, log in and be like, what the heck?
Right.
This is not in my order history.
Yeah,
or
go
whatever
directly
it is.
to your eBay app. I've personally gotten multiple phone calls from Amazon, and it's an automated message.
Yeah.
Right. And I said I never answer phone calls of numbers I don't recognize, but occasionally, I do. And it's an automated message, and it says, press 1 if you want to cancel this order for this $1,500 camera that supposedly I ordered from Amazon. So I press 1, and then it sends me to a live representative, right? And of course I say, well, I didn't order a $1,500 camera from Amazon. Oh, you didn't? Well, it looks like your account's been compromised and we need to cancel that. And let me send you to a representative so that we can get that. And, again, creating that anxiety and that urgency and, let's secure your account. And in one of these phone calls that happened recently, they wanted to transfer me to somebody, and then they're like starting to ask me, okay, well, we need your account number and your card number and your expiration date and the little 3-digit code on the back of the card. And so when it got to that point, I finally just said, well, before we go any further, maybe I should tell you what I do for a living. And they're like, oh, what do you do for a living? It's like, I work in fraud. They're like, you work in fraud? And I'm like, yeah, I work in fraud prevention. And then I hear them talking to somebody in the background, and they come back on. It's like, okay, well, have a nice day.
Don't want to give away their operation.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So,
Interesting.
So that was funny.
Yeah. Very, very funny. But so again, I just want to reiterate what the action steps are
Yeah, sure.
for our viewers, right? So never will a financial institution, or really any organization for that matter, call you and ask you to verify yourself.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
But when you call them, they will.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then beware of text messages from anyone.
Yep.
Right?
Beware of phone calls and text messages.
Okay.
And really, again, that it comes down to when you're talking to that person, someone who's called you.
Yes.
Not someone that you've called, but someone that's called you. If they start asking you for your name, your phone number, your social security number, your date of birth, your username and password to anything, your code word to anything, your PIN number to anything, if they're asking you for those things, that should be when the sirens and the alarms start going off that, hey, I need to hang up, I need to look up the legitimate number, and I need to call them back.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Love that. So, Rob, going back to my wonderful experience about my student loan phone call that I received. Now, I obviously could care less to call Barbara back because I know I don't have a student loan. I actually did check my credit report just to see, because I was
that's
like,
great.
That would be bad, right?
Yeah.
So I got my free annual credit report and just looked it over. And of course, nothing was there. So I was like, oh, Barbara, I didn't fall for it.
Yeah.
What about all of those people out there, though, that are like panicking? I don't have a student loan. I need to call Barbara.
Yeah, right. That's a great point, Kristalina, because that can happen in so many different ways, and especially with these text messages and phone calls that are just getting blasted out to everyone.
Yeah.
It's very likely that you would get a text message or a phone number, and that student loan call, they weren't saying, well, I'm going to call Kristalina because, I'm targeting her. They sent that call out to countless people. Right?
Sure.
So they're just kind of getting it out there and seeing who responds. And you don't want to be that person that responds because you have a student loan, nor do you want to be that person that responds because you don't have a student loan, right? Because again, they're not, when you tell them, you call Barbara back and you say, well, I don't even have a student loan. Barbara's going to immediately turn that into, oh, well, I'm showing that someone's applied for a student loan with your name. What's your social security number again, Kristalina? Let me check on that. Right. So now they've got you, they've
got my name, my number, and my social. Yeah. That's terrifying.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so you really just don't want to even get close to falling into that trap. Just steer wide. So if you get that call from somebody that you don't recognize, or you don't have an account there, or you don't have a student loan, you can always go back to look up the legitimate number, call them back, and then ask them, hey, I got this weird text message. I got this weird phone call. I don't have a student loan. And you can resolve it that way. You just don't want to you just want to steer very wide of anything that might get you into a compromising position where, they got me all riled up and all worried about this fact that I had a student loan and I gave them my social security number and I shouldn't have done that because now they've got my social, and all kinds of nefarious things can happen with that.
Okay. So when in doubt, hang up or don't respond to the text.
Yep.
Call the actual
Look up their legitimate
organization.
number and call them back.
Okay. Love it.
All right.
And one other question I have for you is there, obviously we've heard in the past of, people are really targeting elderly with this, or now they're really targeting youth with this because they can get them on social media, right? And all the different things. Is anyone safe from fraud?
I'd like to say that, well, yeah, I guess I could say that. Here's the people that are safe from fraud are the people that are vigilant.
Okay.
Those are the ones that are safe from fraud.
Okay.
Once you become complacent, or you allow yourself to be unnecessarily influenced by this anxiety and this fear and, this urgency to try to do something, that's where you get hooked. So those that are vigilant are less likely to get victimized.
Okay.
The thing about these text messages and these phone calls is that from my experience, they're not looking for phone numbers of young people or phone numbers of elderly people. What they're doing is they're just looking for a list of phone numbers, and that's why they call it phishing, is because they're going fishing. They are casting out this huge net and just seeing what they get. And it's the people that respond is who they get hooked. So just being vigilant and cautious and being aware that these types of things can happen, because a lot of people don't realize that caller ID can be spoofed, or that, someone could send you a text message posing as your financial institution when they're not their financial institution. So those are the kind of things that we want your viewers to be aware of.
Love that. And I would say one more thing, because you always iterate this, is tell your friends.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Don't just have only you be vigilant in
Yes.
it, but share this with your loved ones, right?
Yep.
Make sure your kids are aware. Make sure your parents are aware.
Amen.
All the things,
Yes.
right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That is because the more awareness that we can create, the more protected we are as a group. And that's something that I think we all want.
Okay. Well, and we are coming up on the holiday season.
Yes.
Which is a wonderful time of year.
Yes, it is.
Also a wonderful time of year because we're all utilizing, right? Those finances maybe a little bit more with giving.
Yep.
We always see an increase in fraud during this time. Is
Yes,
that correct?
we do. Yep.
Okay.
We see a lot of increase in fraud during the holidays. So that's why I would recommend those account alerts that you mentioned before, those transaction alerts, because there is just a lot more activity. So just keeping an eye on those types of things. As we've talked about in other podcasts, this is the holiday season, is the time of year where people are feeling very generous. They want to donate to their causes. Be aware that there are people out there that are looking for that are presenting themselves as legitimate charities that are not legitimate charities. So when you want to make your charitable contributions, make them to an organization that you know and that you trust, and make sure that you're making that donation through a legitimate channel. So not a fake website, but a legitimate website.
Okay.
So for example, if someone were to say, you and I are friends, and if you were to receive a text message from me that says, "Hey, Kristalina, donate to the Humane Society and click on this link," definitely donate to the Humane Society, but go to their website and donate through that channel, because you just don't know where that link's going to take you.
Okay, fair enough. Awesome.
Yeah.
Any other parting thoughts for our viewers of what they need to just make sure and do this fraud season?
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't revisit our number one fraud prevention mantra.
Okay.
There is no reason for somebody to send you money and ask you to send it somewhere else.
Okay.
So,
love it.
All right.
Okay. Well, you guys heard it from Rob himself. Be sure you're staying vigilant, and we'll all stay safe.
All right.
This holiday season.
Awesome.
Okay. Thanks all of you for joining us, and we will see you on the next episode of Guiding You Forward.